today. So certainly want to welcome our comptroller, state comptroller, to the county today. And I want to welcome all of you who have come to hear his content of discussion. And I want to give a big thank you to Carla Cash, who is a tremendous worker in the community, but I get to brag on her and say that she is the Director of Constituent Services in District 8 in my office, and it's really been an honor to work with her. I also want to say thank you to Gina Anderson Ford, who is always on the call and is our public relations media specialist. And we do have Maurice Gibbs, our legislative aide, also here on the call today, and Demetrius Keller. I hope I'm not missing anyone else. We do have Hugo. Demetrius Keller is new to us over the last couple of months, but has just dived in and been very, very active in discussions and bringing up things that all of us need to work through. Had a wonderful Spirit Week where it focused on mental health issues and talking through how to cope during this period of time. I think we're all being challenged, but this is a great time for opportunity to get stronger as well. So getting those coping skills is tremendous. And also just talking about how to work through day to day, whether it's the social anxiety of being on Zoom type meetings throughout the day to various other issues. So very grateful. Also the tremendous amount of feeding of our community that has been done with our group. So very excited. So thank you so much. I want to mention this. I know that
Councilwoman Hugo,
is Hugo on the call? I didn't know. Hugo is our policy analyst, and he's new to us as well. And I do not see him, but he's probably there. Our policy analyst and doing some wonderful work with creating bills and resolutions specifically focused on unifying us and dealing with equity in our community. As you know, this is a greeting, so I don't want to go into too much of office politics, but I do want to say that there are a couple of things that jumped out at me when learning about Peter Franchot years ago, and that is he's a very intelligent, very thoughtful person. And I think that's important. Measured and thoughtful is always important in positions where one has to make decisions, and decisions that are going to impact a lot of people. We do have a couple of things in common. I graduated from Sidwell Friends in Washington, D.C., and I believe either he did, no, he did not. He went to Andover, Phillips Academy in Massachusetts, but I think one of his children did graduate from the same high school. So we do have that commonality to the Prince George's connection, certainly, because I do consider Tacoma Park still Prince George's, and that as well. But he's running for governor. I do want to mention that he has stated he's going to campaign like a tiger. And I think without further ado, if he is here to speak or his representatives here to speak, let's move on. Thank you so much and welcome again.
Hi, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. The comptroller is running a few minutes behind. As I said, he was caught in traffic transitioning from Annapolis to Tacoma Park, actually, which thank you for the lovely historical reminder of Tacoma Park, because yeah, not so many people remember that, but it's nice to always pull that out. And the comptroller is very excited to be able to meet with you and speak with you today. He's going to cover a few things, some good reminders because tax season is coming up, but also talking about some tax credits that a lot of people don't take advantage of that are really helpful for folks. Talking about tax preparation, I'm sure that you guys are all well aware, but one of the things we are about to hit on Friday, we're going to have a press conference with the Cash Campaign of Maryland. And the Cash Campaign of Maryland has been working there. This is their 20th anniversary of offering free tax preparation for low to moderate income families in the state. And they have a lot of partners around the state. In Prince George's County, it's Prince George's Community College. I know that they've been working to help get residents some free tax prep help. community tax aid, as well as Casa de Maryland. So there's quite a number of partners that are in Prince George's County that help with free tax preparation. And one of the big things that, you know, the comptroller always loves to go after is making sure that he's stopping tax fraud. He's stopping tax fraud in its tracks. And we are, and I can go ahead and type in if nobody's been to the website yet. MarylandTaxes.gov is our website. It's new, it's updated, and there we go. And there is a list of blocked tax preparers there. So we have a great fraud detection team. They're #1 in the nation, and we have become the model for other states around the nation for fraud detection. So what we do is we keep the running list of the blocked tax preparers, and we work with Brian Frosch's office to make sure that they are prosecuted. So we suspend them immediately when we suspect fraud, and then we make sure, you know, the case sticks, that we have good evidence for suspending them and why they're blocked. And that's one of the huge things that the comptroller wants to make sure that everybody's aware of, because it is so important. And so many of our most vulnerable citizens across the state fall victim to fraudulent tax preparers every single year. So this is an important message that we want to make sure that we get out to everyone. Okay, and I'm just gonna, if you can excuse me for 1 second, I'm just gonna see if he is about ready to get on and if he's landed in Tacoma Park.
Councilmember, while we're waiting, do you have any updates that you want to share with any legislation that's coming up?
Yeah, thank you so much, Carla Cash. I appreciate it. We will be resubmitting bills related to water issues and flooding, specifically an Army Corps of Engineers study in areas that are frequently prone to flooding in the county, and looking at how to mitigate that. And generally in doing so, we have to look at upstream behavior that's causing the downstream flooding. Flooding is not always obvious in that it's water that's above ground, but sometimes the flooding is in groundwater. We see the results of this type of flooding, this groundwater, in landslides. We call them slope failures. We've seen a good bit of that in the southern part of the county, right at the mouth of the Potomac River. And for obvious reasons, the topography, you know, comes downhill and then spills off into the river. So that's where you get the brunt of the force of water coming from Laurel all the way down here. We're particularly interested in how we develop in floodplains, because floodplain development, when you hear engineers say we're going to bring it out of the floodplain, doesn't mean you eliminate a floodplain. It means that you build maybe 2 feet up if the floodplain is a foot higher than the current elevation. What that does is that pushes the water somewhere else. And generally it's downhill, which comes to the southern part of the county, that Oxon Hill, Camp Springs, Temple Hills, you know, springs. There's a reason it's called Camp Springs, because water does come. And hills, well, you know, when there's hills, there's valleys, and the water settles. So those are some of the bills we're focusing on. And then changing the ordinance that really focuses on any development that takes place in a floodplain, that there shall be engineering of a third party. And this is so it's not up to chance where maybe there'll be an engineering study. It shall happen, because we know that there's tremendous effects of this, and nobody should be concerned about their home being in jeopardy because of a decision that somebody made without being thoroughly up on what impacts were going to take place. We also have a very interesting resolution that is coming up tomorrow, and that is that the council is in support of any decision the county executive makes in regards to punishment, sanctions, or the reduction of pension of any official, county official that was involved in the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th, and any other kind of insurrection type activities up and through January 20th, which was Inauguration Day. We often learn things in hindsight, so that's why this is important to carry over. And we certainly don't want our county officials who were in positions of power, who've been involved in this type of insurrection, to go unchecked. So this is something that's coming up tomorrow. If you have any questions, I'll take them, but I think that Ms. O'Prey is back, and I think she might have an update for us.
I do. The comptroller's logging on right now. So I just gave him the extended passcode from that Carla had given me earlier. So we should see him any second. Fingers crossed, right, on technology.
Thank you.
I think we all know Zoom has been a little sketchy sometimes, right? Just a little. I don't know if anybody tried to log on anywhere yesterday, but that Verizon outage from Washington, D.C. to New York or whatever it was, that was crazy, wasn't it? So hopefully nothing like that today. Not so far anyway. Yeah, I just saw in the chat. Yeah, I just read it this morning. Verizon had that massive FiOS outage from Washington, D.C. to New York. I don't know what caused it though, so yeah. But hopefully, if he's having trouble logging on, he's gonna call me, but he hasn't called back, so I think he should be working on it right now.
Ms. Scruggs on getting, I see your video. You got it going on now. You're muted, but we see you.
Okay.
Her first Zoom meeting, everybody.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
I see some great questions in the chat, and we will gather those and try to get some answers for you with regard to that, with mapping, flood mapping, etc. Well, you know what? I will take a few minutes of privilege, if that's okay. Maureen, is that okay?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I do want to point out that our newest team member, actually, he's not our newest, but very close to it, Hugo Cantu, who is our policy analyst, is also here. And he may want to speak a little bit about the bill that he just drafted not too long ago, or HR 07-2021.
Oh, yes. So the resolution that the council member is referring to, I'll throw it in here. So it's referencing acts of insurgency that took place at the Capitol. And what it does is that it puts on paper, puts pen to paper that the county council of Prince George's County supports the county executive also Brooks, in any decisions that she feels are appropriate if and when information comes up of Prince George's County officials, whether they are volunteer or not, that may have taken part in the violence of the insurrection, or intended violence leading up to the inauguration. The language also includes the Prince George's County Council condemning any actions to disenfranchise minority groups, Black, Brown, Latino, Indigenous. And that's all explicitly stated in the resolution. Because we are a proud county of heavily minority groups, and we should legislate like we are. And I think that's something that's very important. I think that's something that the council member has been getting a tremendous amount of support through the from the county county elected officials. So that's in there. If anyone has any specific questions, it's heavily based off a federal piece of legislation. And those federal pieces of legislation also got a tremendous amount of support. If you know the name Cori Bush, Representative Cori Bush, she's new, but she's making big headway. So that's something that we are really proud to do. We're really proud to get a lot of support, a lot of council support. And we're really looking forward to that going through, and that'll be tomorrow.
Excellent.
Yep. Just wanted to acknowledge some of the comments. Yep. Thank you so much, guys.
So I think he's on because I see 38 and it was at 37.
Well, Maureen still looks like she's on the phone, so I guess she's probably speaking with him. Carla, you want to share about your food distribution updates for 2021?
Of course I do. I feel like I'm a food distributor now, but you know, we have a couple of the sites that have agreed to be host sites and partner with us on the line, like Bishop Twyman and Pastor Burris from Central Baptist. Those are our largest sites, but we do have other sites like Fort Washington Baptist. They do theirs on the 1st and 3rd. St. Stephen's Baptist Church is every Tuesday from 11 to 3. Central Baptist is on Tuesdays as well from 12 to 1. Right, Pastor Burris? I think it's 12 to 1. I guess I should be. Oh, I got my list.
10 to noon, 10 to noon.
10 to noon, but I have my famous list here. We have not started yet at Adams because we're trying to find some of the caterers who have been impacted by COVID and use them for our hot meals that live in our district. So right now we are entertaining menus from Blue Dolphin, a caterer, 2 other caterers. So we're in the making of, you know, seeing how we can support all of them by having meals delivered in different areas, like some in Oxon Hill, some in Temple Hill, some in Camp Springs, some in Fort Washington. And so that will be 3 days a week. We have Ashford Community, they're off of Brinkley Road, and they're every 1st and 3rd Saturday. We have Union Bethel AME Church off of Brinkley Road down in the shopping center where the Jumbo is. They are the 2nd and 4th Saturday. We have Our Savior Lutheran Church. Theirs is every 1st and 3rd Friday in the evening. We have Oxon Hill Food Pantry. You have to make it by appointment only, and they are the 2nd and the 4th Thursday. Fort Washington Baptist, they are the 1st and 3rd Wednesday in the evening at 4 p.m. St. Mark's is every 2nd and 3rd Wednesday, 12 noon to 1:30. Not About Me Ministries is every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. River of Life is every 2nd and 4th Tuesday from 11 to 2. Breath of Life, they are every second Wednesday from 3 to 4. And then Fort Washington Food Distribution Center is at St. John Episcopal Church, and they're on Saturdays. And what I tried to do was to give different dates, different times, some in the morning, some in the evening, some on the weekend for, just to try to accommodate people's schedule, because people are still working, people have their children in school virtually. And so if anybody else wants to participate or donate to one of these fine establishments, you can let me know and I can get you in connection with them. And donation could not just be monetary, it could be manpower as well, or doing food drives for them. So if you want more information about that, you can reach out to me. So I'm pretty excited about it because it's really been really impactful. We've last year from March, and I know these numbers are even higher, but just what in my time that I could capture, we delivered 277,000 plus hot meals Monday through Saturday from March to October. We did at the host sites alone, and at that time we only had 5, we were able to touch over 193,000 families by providing groceries. So just imagine if we can find out some of these tax savings from the comptroller, we'll be able to make a bigger impact. So.
Something that I'm going to bring up, and I thank you so much, Carla. Carla actually, through our work, determined that it would make a lot of sense for us to have community gardens. So we're looking now at the feasibility of established 10 or so community gardens so that people can grow year round in their own communities. We're looking for land at school sites so that it could be part of the learning experience, but also part of the self-sufficiency experience. We do recognize that there are food deserts and they're called lilas now, but for the sake of the discussion, we'll just say that. And we're looking for, instead of waiting for produce to come to us, to figure out how we can grow what we need, grow our own in many levels. I do want to point out also in the chat that Hugo Cantu has put information about how to register for your COVID-19 vaccine. This is very helpful. I think we're all kind of questioning what this process is, and the links are here for you should you need them. Good to see. I see Kendall Manson says that they've already registered the entire family. That's fantastic.
I see a question regarding seniors being contacted by text or email when to arrive. I'm looking into that, unless the county executive, she had a press conference recently, so I'll look up the press conference and then I'll pop it in the chat too.
The other thing that I wanted to say, if any veterans, I sent out a phone number yesterday. If any veterans on the line that are 65 and older, they can call VA, and a couple people called the day before yesterday and then they got their shot yesterday. So that may be another avenue for veterans that are 65 and older to take, if they want to get it done sooner.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, he has been trying to log into Zoom and it keeps rejecting the passcodes that he's been entering. So we're getting him to try to call in right now. So I apologize. Thank you for your patience waiting. It's just, like I said, technology doesn't always do what it needs to do. So I appreciate your patience.
Does anyone else have any updates they'd like to share with us that we don't know and may benefit us?
Hello, Can you, this is Charles Pate, the veteran with the veteran cap on.
Yes.
My wife and I both signed up a week or so ago. And of course, you just gave out some information. I am a veteran, so I'm signed up. I go in Friday to get my shot, which I've been to the hospital on Monday, which they didn't offer it to me. But I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about my wife, because I'm going to get a shot Friday. But my wife and I signed up through PG County. I just want to see if the right people are there. And she still haven't received any kind of information on when she can get her shot. And she's well into the 70s. I'm 81, so she's not far behind me. But she's worried because still we haven't got an email or anything saying when she can come in to get her shot. Thanks for taking my question.
You're welcome. Another thing that I would suggest, if anybody that's a senior that has different comorbidities, check with your doctor, because they may be able to do something a little faster than what the system is. And that way, I know at Kaiser, when I took one of my friend's mom there, they told her that she would have to register through the Largo office because she went in the Prince George's Plaza. So also just check with your primary care doctor, because he knows your situations and he may be able to, you know, get in contact with somebody at the health department or somebody a little quicker than what we can through the internet.
Hi, everybody. I somehow made it on. This is Peter Franchot. Is Carla there?
Yes,
Or
thank
Monique?
you. I hear you.
Yes, I'm here as well. Good to have
Yeah, I
you.
apologize for the Zoom difficulties, but hey, here I am, and I'm really, really sorry that I kept you guys waiting.
Well, you're here now. We're excited.
Well, if you can hear me, if you know, not sure whether you guys want me to speak or whether you would like to just ask me questions or what the best format is. I'm
So
obviously a huge fan of Prince George's County, and I want to do whatever you guys want.
So I would like you to talk about the programs that are out there first, and then we can ask questions, because your programs may touch on some of the questions that people have.
Yeah, well, let me just say, yeah, is that good? Or and then you folks can ask questions, I guess, if that would be preferable. Let me just start by giving everyone my personal cell phone number. I do this not because I want to take up your time or my time, but sometimes people need to speak to a statewide official and see if you can get some assistance. So the cell phone is 301 area code 332-1961. And that is 301-332-1961. If you're not in my contact list, you're probably going to have to text or leave a voicemail for me, but someone will get back to you from our agency if you need help. So let me just apologize on behalf of government everywhere for the extraordinary chaos and mess that the pandemic represents. This is just a completely avoidable, unbelievable catastrophe that has damaged our state's and our country's health, first and foremost, with all of the suffering and illnesses that have been associated with this virus. And we are right now at probably one of the most intense periods of challenges by this virus. And then secondly, the tremendous economic consequences that have flowed from the effort to get the virus under control. And the virus is not under control, and it is raging through the state like a forest fire. And the economic damage has been done in two completely different, they're two completely different states right now in Maryland. There are people who make more than $50,000 a year, who can work remotely and get paid from their homes and be relatively protected from the virus. And that's one group of people. They're inconvenienced by this pandemic, but they're not anywhere near damaged to the extent that folks making less than $50,000 are. Generally, these low-wage earners, as I call them, make between $20,000 and $40,000. They have been absolutely annihilated by the pandemic financially. I mean, first of all, they're subject to more infections and disease and threat of dying because they don't live in necessarily in comfortable homes that are relatively safe. They live in more congested environments. And then secondly, their work is been tremendous, particularly in the hospitality sector, has just been hammered by the pandemic. So they don't have a job. The federal relief was fairly significant back in the summer, but stopped. The state relief never really has been there in any significant amount. And they have basically, these are our friends and neighbors I'm talking about. They've basically been told by the state to just lump it. And I find that to be just, as an elected official, just completely unacceptable. What have I done as comptroller to try to meet some of the suffering and inability of these low-wage earners to almost survive? I mean, I'm talking about 426,600 families that we have in our tax rolls who make less than $50,000 a year with dependent small children in the household. And these folks have no job, no money for food, no money for medicine, no money for rent, no money, nothing. And they perhaps have gotten something here and there as far as federal or state relief. Maybe they got a stimulus check, which is not taxable, thank goodness. But basically what they have faced is, in the state of Maryland, is an avalanche of what I call good intentions, but not very much to show for it. I'm trying to think of a polite way to say this. What we're seeing in Maryland is the collision of wishful thinking with an inability to execute and deliver customer service. And what are the examples of that? Well, one of the most grating is the unemployment debacle in the state, where nobody can get through to the labor agency, and everything is backed up, and it is essentially an enormous mess where people who have paid for years into unemployment taxes because they've worked, now they're unemployed and have been for the last 10 to 12 months. They can't get unemployment. And so what's that add up to? That adds up to more suffering by them. Number two, the vaccine rollout has been a debacle, where we keep hearing we're making progress, we're getting doses, we're getting the doses out to the counties are getting it out to the hospitals. But the reality is that it's just a chaotic mess where nobody really is getting access other than small groups of people here and there. And I just can't underline how what a gap there is between good intentions and bad execution, I guess is the way to describe it. And then you've got the school situation where all of a sudden we're politicized going back to school, and everybody's pounding the table saying we got to get the kids back in person. And this is the thing that galls me the most. the studies, the science shows that it's safe for the kids to go back to school. No, it doesn't. For number one. Number two, there's so little vaccination. We're talking maybe 5% of the Maryland citizenry has been vaccinated. So it's not safe to go back to school in person, particularly schools that are perhaps don't have the resources to prepare properly when and if this should happen. And then most of all, the lack of direct stimulus payments. I've identified as comptroller, as the chief fiscal officer, $1.5 billion in money that's lying around in reserve accounts for the state of Maryland gathering dust. One of the funds is called Rainy Day Fund, and it's obviously rainy. I've suggested to the governor and to the legislature that $925 million of that be sent in a one-time only $2,000 check, non-taxable, to the 426,800 low-wage earner families with dependent children. And that's been greeted with, by the governor, he said he doesn't have the authority to do it. Well, he does, because he's already done it in other areas, and we have an emergency. Or the legislature, where I just kind of get, well, they may have announced something today, but it's not really the kind of response that you would expect from a rich state like Maryland, where our citizens are lined up outside of food banks waiting for hours in the cold trying to get a box of free food that they can take home to their family. So to say that I'm upset is an understatement. I am just beside myself that we have been unable to get our act together in the state of Maryland. The $925 million that I'm advocating being sent to these low-wage earner families directly. And the key here is the speed and the ability to put the money in bank accounts that I know are not fraudulent. And I can do that within 48 hours if the governor and the Senate and House leadership simply gave me thumbs up and gave me the authority to do it. And I think it should be done. I think it should be done yesterday. If you guys want to join in and ask your elected officials to support a direct stimulus payment. This is fiscally responsible because we have the money. It's economically responsible because the money is spent immediately and it has a multiplier effect. And it's most of all morally responsible and the right thing to do. And here we are watching Washington now take weeks to get its act together. I mean, they can't even figure out how to organize the Senate. And on the state level, I've got my good friend Larry Hogan acting like a press secretary and a tub-thumping, cheerleader for the state. All he talks about is how well we're doing and how much better we are than other states. No, we're not better than other states. And frankly, the entire state right now is a mess. And people are desperate, both about their public health and even more immediately, they are desperate for direct stimulus assistance. And I have, under my authority, the ability to grant forbearance. So I've granted forbearance in paying taxes that are due in January and February and March on a monthly basis, things like sales tax from small businesses, alcohol tax from taverns, and stores that sell liquor, and other fees that are paid on a monthly basis. I've told businesses to keep that money, use it as a buffer against having to close, and pay me the money in a lump sum come April 15th. I have also asked the IRS to forbear and delay the tax date of April 15th to July 15th. Those two actions, if they happen, will leave $5 or $6 billion in the pockets of small businesses and Maryland individual taxpayers. Ultimately, they have to pay them. We did it last year, proved to be very successful, allowed some people to have a bit of a reserve, and most people, almost everybody, paid their taxes at the end. So that's all I can do as comptroller, because I just don't have I'm not the Senate president or the Speaker of the House or the governor. And, but to say that we're doing okay in Maryland is just Pollyannish poppycock. We are not okay. It's not good. People are very, very fearful about their own personal survival. And small businesses are very apprehensive about whether they're going to even be able to open and see any kind of normal profit and loss. I will say that we added a request for $250 million to be spent on small business relief. Let me just conclude by saying better days are ahead. The virus is going to be corralled sometime this calendar year once we get the mess of vaccine distribution figured out. There will be a return to economic prosperity in Maryland. It's going to be a different kind of prosperity. It's going to be kind of like the Roaring '20s. Because there's so much pent-up economic activity. Once people get vaccinated and feel somewhat safe, there will be a tremendous growth of economic activity. But for those low-wage earning families, there's just no way to describe the suffering and the pain that they feel right now, and the platitudes that they're getting from the great state of Maryland and from the federal government right now. Let me stop and just, I wandered on a little bit there. I just wanted to get it off my chest because, there's so much in the richest state, in the richest country in the history of the world that we could be doing for our own people. And you know me, I've been the comptroller now for 14 years. I'm not a spend and tax Democrat and spendthrift. I am obviously a Democrat. I'm very proud of my party, and I don't like the Republicans. I particularly don't like the way they've, become a kind of cult around Trump. But I'm telling you directly, as the chief fiscal officer of the state, we have the money. It's lying around gathering mold. It was put aside specifically for these purposes. It's completely replenishable because we can go to the debt markets in March, month after next, and take out a one-time only $1 billion in debt that we can use to replace operating funds that have been put into capital projects around the state. So this is just so frustrating to me that my neighbor's house is on fire. I see my neighbor standing out in the street with a blanket, middle of the night, house is burning, firemen are putting it out, and I'm sitting there saying, gee, I can't even go outside and bring that neighbor of mine and his family into my house. I have to sit here and just look at them suffer. And so let me just stop and take any questions people have. I think I've got Maureen O'Prey on the line who can take any kind of constituent government issues that you need help with.
Absolutely.
I've given you my cell phone, so anybody who wants to can call or text me, or you can email me at pfranchot@marylandtaxes.gov. We can, on an ad hoc basis, help. But once again, I am not the unemployment agency. I'm not the health department. And I'm certainly not local government. I think in Prince George's is, I'm a big fan of Angela Alsobrooks, because I think she's an absolutely sparkling star of a elected official. I just like her a lot, and I worked with her when she was state's attorney, I think, on a lot of tobacco and alcohol violations. But it's a mess. I'm sorry. a lot of it I could talk about Donald Trump with, but I think I'll just skip that since he's no longer president. And I'm a big supporter of Joe Biden's, and I happen to think that they're trying to cobble something together, but it's too little, too late. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions. Is anybody still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I probably stunned you all. I don't mean to sound pessimistic. As I said, we're going to have a huge comeback come the end of the year. The question is, are we going to be individually alive and there present for that? And are our wonderful small businesses, particularly in the hospitality sector, are any of them going to be there? Let me stop and see
Yes,
what people
we'll have
think or
people-
what questions you have.
We'll have people raise their hand and we'll take each person like that. Council member.
You know, I was just speaking from the heart there a little bit. And, you know, I just got back from a long Board of Public Works meeting with Governor Hogan and Treasurer Cobb. And I probably was a little bit fatigued and down in the dumps. I don't mean to be. I'm completely optimistic about the state and particular Prince George's County down the road. It's just that we are in to me, completely avoidable mess.
The council member
And,
will go first and then we'll go with Ms. Mary Scruggs.
Okay, who's there?
Hi, this is Monique Anderson Walker. How are you doing today?
Monique, thank you for everything you represent, and please excuse yourself and your colleagues from any kind of scathing criticisms that they had. This is
We're here for that.
this is stuff at the national level and the state level. This is not
No.
you guys.
Listen, if we deserve it, we deserve it. I think we're here to
No,
listen.
you don't. Oh,
I'll say this, if we're here to listen to all that we do well, but then things we don't do well. And I think it takes maturity to look at it in that perspective. We're good with that.
thank you, Monique.
The questions that I have for you, and thank you so much for the job that you're doing. And I know that you have aspirations. I've heard through the grapevine. And I guess my questions are really to do with one of your meetings that took place today was with Department of Public Works. We're very challenged in this area. As you know, Prince George's County is one of the great generators of tax for the state. The area that I represent, which is Fort Washington, Camp Springs, Suitland, Oxon Hill, Fort Washington, Forest Heights, and Temple Hills. We represent an area that is really the economic engine to a large degree of this county. But we find that we're challenged with infrastructure. And we're really looking at ways that we can get significant infrastructure infusion here to help us with some of the flooding issues that are occurring. I know that in your position currently as comptroller, that would probably be tax related, looking at how we could find some rainy day funds perhaps for that. But in your future quests, this is something I think that needs to be really looked at. We are where we're located right at the mouth of Potomac. We're at the lowest point before we drop off into the water. And so quite literally, we get the brunt of water issues coming from Laurel, coming down this way. And irresponsible development certainly has been a part of that, but lack of studies and a lack of infrastructure. And that's where Public Works comes into play here. I'd really like to see.
Okay, could I suggest something that would, the Board of Public Works is a 3-member panel, the governor, the treasurer, and myself. We meet every 2 weeks. We vote on average about $450 million in state contracts. We're not approving it's not like the legislature approving something to be spent down the road. These are the actual contracts that the state is entering into. So it's a very important panel. On your subject, Monique, of Prince George's taking more or better advantage of whatever is shaping up as infrastructure at the state level or federal level, I think Prince George's will have enormous opportunities because Joe Biden is indicated that he's going to put more than $1 trillion into an infrastructure plan after he deals with the COVID crisis, first of all. And I think that is sometime this year is going to come out of the Congress. And obviously you have some terrific members of Congress, Anthony Brown, and you have Steny Hoyer in the southern part of the district. Both of those individuals are capable of inserting significant amounts of infrastructure requests for Prince George's County, be it transportation or flood control or other projects. And so I think that there's quite a bit that could be petitioned for at the federal level, just because of the election of Joe Biden, I think, and we'll see what happens as far as the ability of our Washington legislators to produce a real infrastructure bill. But for example, I'm thinking of suggesting to the Maryland federal team, which would include people from elsewhere around the state, that we put together a several billion-dollar request to President Biden for specific projects in Maryland, one of which or several of which could be in Prince George's. So I'm happy to work with you on that. And my view is that the infrastructure spending, which I'm very hopeful for, will occur at the federal level. But even if it doesn't occur, we at the federal level, at the state level, you asked about other things down the road. I happen to think that we can create 100,000 what I call paths to the middle class for individual Marylanders. These are folks that don't have jobs right now or have very low-paying jobs, don't own homes, don't really have financial integrity and independence, just because they work and they work and they work and they never really get any kind of traction as far as moving out of relatively low-wage jobs into the middle class, where you have home ownership and you have, health care, you have a pension, and you have a retirement, and you have some confidence that your work is going to be able to earn a livable income for your family. Okay, so how do we do that? I think we should take the infrastructure money for the state, which is billions of dollars we spend at the state level, and link it to both small businesses, but also to the trade unions, and give an economic incentive from the state of Maryland, which would be paying maybe $4 or $5 of a person's minimum wage, and partner with both the trade unions and small businesses to go out and recruit 100,000 Marylanders who currently have no path to the middle class. And we will give them training, we'll give them a livable wage, we'll give them, if they're a member of the trades union, they will have a team that will provide training, a livable wage, a pension, the opportunity of a job after the job they finish, and also have some hope of retirement, so they can retire in dignity down the road. I am convinced that we could do that without raising taxes, without spending more money, simply by leveraging the power of the billions of dollars that we currently spend on capital projects in the state of Maryland at the state level. And I frankly hope someday I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can actually implement that. 100,000 paths to the middle class. And I don't know. We'll see where all that ends up. But my answer for the future health of Maryland is jobs, jobs, jobs. Now, in addition to that, we have all sorts of pockets of need and poverty and disability and areas where we need to pay attention as a state. But as far as the overall economic health of the state, we need more jobs. And I'm not talking about jobs that just come into the state and politicians like me take credit for it.
Right.
I want to see the state of Maryland produce a significant number of jobs on its own,
That's
for
great.
its own people.
And
And I think we can do that. Prince George's would be, you're right. It's got a lot of wealth. It's got a lot of success. It also has some areas of challenge. But the key here is for those people that are old and kind of in the twilight of their years or have some kind of physical or mental disability. I'm not talking about that group. We need to take care of them. But there are a lot of people that simply spend their whole lives working
right.
and never make any progress.
Yeah.
They never are able to, as I said, buy a home.
Well, they don't get
And
they don't get the wealth benefit. So quickly, I
well,
just,
there you go. So I think we can turn that around a little bit, and I think
Yeah,
we'll see a lot of.
I'm going to move on so other people can ask questions, but just two things to think about. And that is, part of that wealth building is access to transportation. And we really need to look at the area I represent, which includes National Harbor, is literally 6 miles from National Landing, which is Amazon. There's tremendous opportunity for ancillary businesses to be located in Prince George's County. That 6 miles is no time to travel. But we really need to look at dedicated bus lanes to go over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge or some sort of transit. To me, the cheapest and quickest way to go is the BRT, bus rapid transit, where we can get that going literally in months. The bridge, when
Okay, I think that's a great idea. I think we should do it. In the legislature, I was chairman of the appropriations subcommittee that funded the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, and I think we required that there be a transit line in the bridge to connect Virginia to Maryland. And I'm all right there on either dedicated bus lanes or using that for rapid transit. And I think it makes a tremendous amount of sense for
activity within the county.
National Harbor, which is a kind of a magnet in and of itself, but then connecting that to Amazon over across in Virginia. So yeah, the answer to that is yes.
And continue that up.
And let me just finish with that, Monique. If that's a perfect project for the federal government to put whatever it is, $500 million into from in the new infrastructure plan. I mean, every member of Congress right now, all over the country, is trying to get themselves put into this infrastructure bill that Biden is promised, and I think will come sooner or later. So if I could help you advocate that at the federal level, I would love to, and in the alternative, we can have a backup plan with the state.
Well, fantastic. That sounds great. And just one more thing I'll leave you with, and that is home ownership. We recognize this is a very affluent county, which means we spend a lot, but it's more important to be able to pass down something. And that's where the wealth is. And in our housing, in our homes, people are struggling just as they are in rental properties. So I'd like us to consider some sort of a federal look at a deferment of mortgage payments for 36 months, which sounds like a long time.
Okay.
But consider we've already been in 12 months of this and people have suffered and there's no end probably for another year. Let's look at something 36 months where there's a deferment at the end. What we don't want is to have a whole lot of foreclosures, specifically in Prince George's County. We had that issue after the 2008 turn. We really want to preserve wealth, which is the big thing. Wealth is in your ownership, in your property.
Right. Let me just suggest this, that you and I should work together on this. I don't think a right now, I think a temporary moratorium on tenants and eviction from rental units, I think that makes sense. I'm not so sure that a across the board blanket statement as far as residential mortgages, A, is affordable and B, gets the right conclusion. But I am intensely aware of the fact that rich people, when they go and ask for a bank to give them flexibility in paying their mortgages on their businesses or their homes, the banks always say yes, because these are folks who are powerful. And I'm suggesting that there may be a way, if we are able to partner with the state, to approach the banks in a way in which when individuals that are having difficulty paying their mortgages call the bank and ask for forbearance or ask for relief, they actually get it. And now, I don't mean to be Pollyannish here, but I actually think that if it's in a proper context, the banks can be coached and perhaps subsidized somewhat by the state to, in the kind of communication and negotiation, be more or less accomplish what you're talking about, Monique. I'm not suggesting that we don't try it on a more broad brush thing. I'm just a little concerned about the stability of some of the banks if you do something across the board for 36 months. So,
Right. And I hear you. We certainly
and not everybody has this problem. I mean, we've got this K-shaped recovery where people making more than 50,000, if you can believe it, according to my experts, there's so much money in their checking accounts because they've been working, getting paid, working remotely, but they haven't been able to spend it on their normal travel or
luxury.
or luxuries or restaurants, going to restaurants. The whole thing has been kind of frozen for 10 months. So they claim that some people are actually doing really well, and I don't think they're having problems paying their rent if they're renting an apartment or in paying their mortgage. So identifying the right group of mortgage owners who are challenged, you and I could work on that, and I'm happy to address something to them. I just am a little warier of. I don't think we should be giving stimulus grants to people that are doing just fine.
Right, and we're talking about deferment, which means they have to pay this. It's just they don't have to pay it.
Well, that's a problem. That's an issue, because if you defer something for 36 months, that's a pretty big. Now, I can see the state negotiating on behalf of a lot of these folks, saying, "Look, we're going to defer, but we're not going to pay the whole amount at the end of the deferral. We're only going to pay 40% or something, because your alternative of kicking these people out of their homes, that's not something you guys benefit from necessarily, and you don't get any money. But if the state is willing to subsidize part of it, I think we might be able to get a much better response. I may be wrong here, but I'm told by my experts that 90% of people who call their banks get a rewrite, get a deferral, get a deferment, and get a reduction in their immediate costs.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to let other people ask questions. You've been phenomenal. Thank you again.
Okay, Mary Scruggs, and then
Yes.
I'll go to Ms. Reed. Mary?
Good afternoon, Franchot.
How are you, ma'am? Call me Peter.
Peter, okay.
Yes, Peter.
Yes, how are you? And thanks for answering my question, taking my question rather. I've heard, it was at the end of December, on the news that the governor, Maryland Governor Hogan, was trying to get a relief for the state of Maryland unemployment payments is taxable in Maryland. To forego that. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, that's something that he's working with the legislators on to see whether the state tax on unemployment
Yes.
can be removed or somehow foreborn. That's something I'm not involved in,
Oh, okay.
other than that, obviously, I'm supporting relief for people who, as I said, are through no fault of their own, are suffering a lot right now.
Right. Okay.
So I
Thanks
don't,
a lot.
that's going to take some time to work out, because, you know, nothing's easy in the legislature, and they're also meeting kind of in a weird way. They're there, but it's not really the same. And but I think the main thing that I'm asking people to focus on is the need for an immediate direct stimulus. In other words, speed is of the essence, number one. Number two, the direct stimulus money, you don't have to worry about it being taxed. It's not taxed. But it immediately provides a little bit of protection and from all the suffering that these folks are having. And it's a bridge over troubled waters, because ultimately the federal government's going to come in with some relief, and the relief plan the governor proposed to the legislature will, weeks from now, get hashed out and something will come out. But it's not going to happen immediately, and that's what we need right now. That's the number one priority for the state of Maryland, because it's our own friends, neighbors, residents, and citizens who are being hammered. And for the life of me, I can't believe that we're just, you know, talking about, well, wait a month or so, let's see how things are. No. It's, you know what it's like? It's like the state saying, you know what, we know you're all scared to death of the COVID, and you know, you read about so many people dying miserably in a hospital. We know you're all upset by it, but we're not really going to organize this vaccine rollout so that anybody has any understanding of who can get it, where can they get it, and when is it going to be available? It's just a kind of chaotic mess right now where, frankly, if anything, people are just made to feel guilty because they think that in their desperation to get a vaccine, they may be stepping in front of someone else. That we should have, you know, we should have honesty where people say Trump left us with nothing and we don't really have anything. We're starting from scratch as far as the vaccination rollout. And then B, here's what is going to happen. Let's say, I think yesterday the governor announced everybody over 65 is eligible, but then he didn't say anything else. He didn't say where you go. He didn't say where you sign up. Prince George's, I'm here through the grapevine, has done a little bit better job of at least letting people know what they can do to sign up for a vaccine. But people are desperate. I mean, I'm not quite sure what you guys are hearing, but wherever I go or people I interact with in Maryland, they want one thing. They want safety, and they want a vaccine. And they're really, when they're told they can't get it, and it's someone else's fault, it produces a tremendous amount of frustration.
Okay, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Reed, how are you? What's your question?
Hi.
How are you?
Franchot. I could be better. I am I'm calling on behalf of my father, who is a resident of PG County. He's a senior and unfortunately suffered a stroke last year, which has left him with left side hemiparesis, which means he can't move his left hand or left foot and requires assistance to have the most basic needs met. Since my father's Thank you. Since my father's on a fixed income, we've applied for many resources. Some of those are under a community waiver program in PG County. However, we were told he was denied because he missed the income eligibility by $130. Now, they told us that he's eligible for at least 56 hours of care per week, which out of pocket is around $4,000 a month. However, with a fixed income of about $2,500 a month, there's no way he can meet those resources. And so in the last couple of months, my father unfortunately has fallen about 5 times. As of last week, he had just was sent to the hospital because he had a head wound, which required stitches. Before that, he was in a facility because he had caught COVID and needed to recover. And even in that facility, he had fallen multiple times. And we had called the facility, which is also in PG County, to try to come up with some strategies to mitigate these falls. And they told us that they could just basically put a mat on the floor so he'll have a soft landing. So my question is how can a county as rich as I've been told this county is, I don't live in this county. I'm trying to advocate on behalf of my father. And I can't be there because I work full time and all the other families in the Midwest. So we are struggling to try to keep my father alive. And the Medicaid office in this county has told us that we could wait 3 years to become eligible. My father doesn't really have 3 years. And so this question is also
Okay,
to the
so this
group,
is,
like how can we
I
overcome such a stringent criteria when the medical need far exceeds the person's resources? So I'll take my question.
yeah, no, this is, what you're describing is a challenge that we've created in this country where we've basically said to everybody, it's like Darwin's jungle. You just got to get out there and survive. And the question is who can make money and who can't make money. And the kind of the joy and empathy of taking care of each other has been sucked out of the country for some reason. I would like to, if I could, see if we can do something within the talents of our agency to come up with a solution for your dad. I'm not sure what that is, but obviously when I call, everybody answers the phone because they don't want to get the tax collector upset. So I have access, and I will commit to you that we will try to do something, working with you to get the kind of care that you would be absolutely minimal in this situation. And I just feel badly for your dad. My dad, before he passed away, a couple of times he fell down and he had a carpet in his apartment that he was living in. But he'd call me and say, I can't get up. I say, what do you mean you can't get up? He literally could not. He would fall down and he couldn't get up. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that he was broken anything or anything. It was just that he was so old at that point that, that was a shock to me. But I will commit to you, if you'll contact Maureen offline or contact me on the cell phone number I gave you,
okay,
that we will make some calls and see what we can do to help your dad. And what really frosts me is hearing that there's some kind of income eligibility that disqualifies it.
Thank you.
I mean,
I will definitely reach out to both you, Mr. Franchot, and I'm sorry, who?
Maureen. Maureen is on the line. Maureen, if you can post or communicate how to contact yourself, I will take this under a advisement and spend some time on it tomorrow, if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
And I just put my cell in the chat again, so please call me at any time.
Okay. Ann Coles, did you have your hand raised?
But we should go with Felicia first, Carla.
Okay, Felicia, okay.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for having us and hosting this. So I had two questions, Peter, in regards to, you made mention that the committee that you sit on with the governor is responsible for the contracts as it relates to transportation and public work infrastructure. So my question is, in the southern part of the county where we are, we have very limited access to public transportation. We had commuter buses at one point, and it seems that the state of Maryland, and I don't know if it's on a statewide level or a county level, has given Metro WMATA exclusive rights to operate, but then when they choose not to service us, we don't have other options. So I would like to know what could be done there, because they haven't responded to our voice, and our tax dollars are helping to fund them, but they're picking and choosing who they're choosing to service. And then the second piece of my question, because hopefully I can get these answered, because I do have a job to actually get back to, and I'm very grateful for that. But the second portion of my question would be, as it relates to the commercial tax base, what, if anything, is being done to change how we've been operating in the county to attract more commercial businesses here, so we're not balancing the budget off of the residents of the county and not having a significant commercial tax bracket to work with? I realize that there may be some breaks that need to be offered in the beginning to get them here, but once we have them here, there could be a lot of benefit, like we've seen in our neighboring jurisdiction of DC.
Okay, on the southern Prince George's County, Charles County commuter transit options, that is a problem that has been around for quite a while. I think Senator Ellis put forward some plans as far as transit and light rail, but we need to get back and revisit that. I'm not sure what happened to the commuter buses, but right now that area is not being properly serviced by affordable mass transit. So Maureen, maybe you can, I've kind of lost track a little bit, but I know it's a big problem. And once again, I think it fits very nicely into some kind of transit line that goes across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, and also then connecting southern Prince George's and Charles County. But I don't have anything right in front of me. All I know is that the infrastructure bill that's going to be presented and work its way through the Congress, it's just going to be enormous. And I think Republicans and Democrats are going to support it. But you are particularly well positioned in Prince George's because of the majority leader, Steny Hoyer, and because of Anthony Brown, I think, who can potentially fit a transit project in for Charles County and Prince George's County, and fit that into one of these infrastructure bills that are coming along. As far as the business reputation of Prince George's and whether or not it is able to generate more tax revenue from businesses so that residents pay less, that's, in my 33 years in politics, that's not the way it works. If we even got businesses to be taxed at a higher level, that generally doesn't mean that residents and private individuals get relief. It just means that the budget overall grows. So I'm much more interested in the state subsidizing new jobs and a little bit in the way I was talking about, that would be targeted on folks that can move up the ladder. But I'm not right now in favor of increasing anyone's taxes or frankly cutting anyone's taxes, because there's so much volatility in this end of pandemic, about to start the economic recovery period for the next 3 or 4 months, that ideally I'm just in favor of stability and predictability and certainty as far as what we have before exploring, an increase in the business tax or decrease in residential taxes. That won't last forever, but a couple of years from now, I think we can, once we have a better understanding of what the pandemic situation resulted in as far as economic recovery, we can, look at the fairness of the tax structure. I don't mean to be evasive. I just happen to think we should be very careful about changing things until we understand exactly what the situation is. Does that make any sense?
Zeno, and then Ann, and then Hugo, okay?
All right. Thank you, Carla. And thanks to Councilwoman Monique Anderson Walker for setting up this call, and to yourself, Comptroller Franchot, for taking some time to talk with the citizens. I want to echo a comment that has been made already about the need for transportation here in South County, and I also put something in the chat. I was delighted to hear you say that you are considering calling together or meeting with the Maryland federal delegation to try to get them behind a infrastructure bill that can be part of the president's initiative. I think Councilwoman Anderson Walker's comment about the need for water infrastructure improvements is so very important. But I also want to put a plug in for something that community leaders here in South County have been working on for more than 20 years, and that is getting a metro across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, extending that yellow line across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge and connecting with the Green Line at Branch Avenue. As you mentioned earlier, you were exactly right, Peter, that when the Woodrow Wilson Bridge was built, it was built to be able to accommodate heavy rail. That was part of the specifications for it. Now we need to get the Metro Rail actually onto the bridge. So I would very strongly advocate for that project to be part of any infrastructure bill that the Maryland delegation puts together and presents to the president's folks to be a part of his initiative. As an interim step, I wholeheartedly agree that using buses to transport folks across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge is a good idea, but that should only be an interim step. The ultimate goal should be to get actual heavy rail, the Metro Rail, onto the bridge. So that's my comment. One other quick comment, and then a question for you. In all of the talk about the COVID-19 crisis, and certainly there is a need for more infrastructure to administer the vaccine. We have a terrific need for more vaccine itself. But what I do not hear enough people talking about is the toll, the mental health, behavioral health toll that this crisis has taken on a number of U.S. citizens, from our elderly, now we hear to even our school children. Our frontline healthcare workers are overtaxed and anxious. Our seniors who were already isolated are even more isolated now and adding to their depression. And we've got others who also will need behavioral health interventions as we come out of this horrible, terrible coronavirus crisis. So I'm hoping that here in Maryland, there will be some attention at the state level right on down to the counties to attending to the behavioral health needs of our citizenry. My question for you is, on the notion of affordable housing, not low income housing, but affordable housing for working class citizens. I'm curious about what thoughts you have or would consider proposing at the state level, also working with the counties to increase the amount of affordable housing in Maryland. There's a terrific need for that, and particularly, I think, as we come out of the COVID-19 crisis, people get back to work, want to move into that American dream of home ownership versus renting. We need to have more affordable housing available for those individuals so that they can actually live that American dream, create that legacy wealth for their children and families. Thank you.
Well, thank you. No, that's great. That great question at the end is very on point, because the affordable housing is the ultimate path to the middle class. As someone, I think chimed in, I think Monique or someone else mentioned that, you know, being a renter all your life doesn't result in any capital or any equity. So everybody's got to own something. The affordable housing situation in Maryland's mostly been done at the local level, but I'm happy to, and we'll put out a big position paper, I'm sure, in my campaign on affordable housing. But I'm particularly interested in how the state can partner and stimulate the existing affordable housing developers. And there's a wide range from folks that make, frankly, it's affordable, but it's pretty expensive housing, and folks that are doing less expensive affordable housing. So I don't have a specific idea there other than I want there to be enough new wage earners making a living wage that will challenge the affordable housing community to make more housing available. On the mental health issue, I couldn't agree with you more. Even before the pandemic, we had a huge problem with mental illness not being addressed. And I'm hoping that the Biden presidency will reform Obamacare enough that it's improved enough that it's much more accessible and usable by people specifically for mental health treatments. And I don't really have a magic bullet on mental health. I just think we've lost the human ability to reach out and help our neighbors and interact with our neighbors. And I don't mean to sound Pollyannish, but if I'm ever lucky enough to be your governor, I'm going to have what I call a cabinet, in my cabinet of very important division agency directors. I'm going to have someone who's specifically tasked with this issue of mental isolation and illness. And I'm not quite sure what I call this agency or this individual, but it's going to be someone who's going to be responsible for coaching the 6 million people in the state of Maryland to do what our parents and our grandparents used to do as a normal reaction. They would take care of people in their areas. They wouldn't leave somebody to be isolated in their home. They wouldn't turn a blind eye to some kind of behavior that needed to be looked at by medical people. And we're going to deal with this problem of isolation, loneliness, and mental illness. The more serious cases of schizophrenia and other kinds of chemical imbalances that people have that make them do crazy things, obviously we need to care for that. But I'm much more concerned with the disappearance in our neighborhoods of community concern and support. And over in England, they have They have a cabinet position in the prime minister created. It's what caught my eye some time ago. It's called the Minister of Loneliness. And it's someone in the cabinet over there in England, in the UK, whose job is to somehow reignite empathy in neighborhoods and in citizens for whoever they're interacting with. And I don't mean to sound kind of mushy, but I'm going to put some emphasis on that. I'm glad you asked the question, because obviously there is, because of the pandemic, there's even more pressure and more damage being done to normal behavior. So sorry not to be too specific, but maybe you could give your contact stuff to Maureen, and
Yes.
we could work with you on some ideas on this.
Sure, I'll be happy to.
Thank you for mentioning it. I mean, when my wife and I sit, we've been married for 40 years. When I sit the other night, we're watching TV, and one of these movies came on, and there was a scene where all the actors and actresses were sitting in a restaurant eating. And we looked at it as if, God, people really did that. They really got together. They were like socializing. They were interacting with each other. Because we haven't done it for 10 months. I don't mean to personalize it. I'm just saying I think a lot of the pain and suffering of the pandemic that is referenced by you as far as mental health issues, I think that can be corrected. Doesn't hurt to hug somebody. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Sir, I think you have another call that you have to get on.
Oh, I do.
You do.
Okay. Yeah, I arrived late for you guys. I probably didn't give you enough time. Why don't we agree to meet again down the road, and you've got ability to contact me and Maureen. Thank you very much, Council Member Anderson Walker. It's just, Monique, it's been terrific. And nothing but thumbs up and A++ for you.
Thank
Call
you.
me if you need me.
And have a great team. I'm blessed.
I'm sorry about the technical stuff, because I actually have I'm actually feeling very energized and excited about the challenges that we're facing, and I wish I'd been able to communicate that over video rather than just do the audio thing. But that's my problem. I can't sometimes figure out how to get on these things.
Well, we do
But
appreciate.
thank you guys for helping me with some really, really excellent questions and observations. And Monique, call me any time of the day or night that you need something.
I appreciate that. And thank you so much, Maureen. Carla Cash, as always, a phenomenal job. Thank you for getting this together. And South County Roundtable, thank you for your continued support and all that you do in the community.
Thank you for having this.
And again, anybody that needs anything, just give me a call. I'm also going to put my email in the chat so that you can reach out to me. And I put some other information in the chat. I know this was recorded about the earned income tax credit, about enterprise zone tax credits, a link to both last year's tax deferments and this year's tax deferments that the comptroller had referenced, and a link to our list of blocked tax preparers. If you need anything else at all, please just reach out. I am here, and I am ready to help in whatever capacity I can. And Ms. Reed, please make sure you do give me a call so that we can work together on finding a way to help your dad.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This is recorded. It will be on the Councilwoman's YouTube page if you want to share it with other people, and her social media. We'll be sending it out as well. Thanks for your patience today, everyone.
And thank you, Janet, for always being phenomenal with the public relations.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, and be safe.
Yeah, be safe.
Thank
Stay healthy.
you.
God
Thank
bless you
you.
all.
Stay
Ms.
healthy.
Brooks, you did great. Look
Thank you. Maybe the next
Thank
time
you
I'll be
all.
back
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you.
very good. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
So Gina, did you get the chat, download the file for the chat?
That'll come to me as well.
Okay.
We just, yeah, closing
Thank
out.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Ann, we were going to have you speak, and he cut it off. Yeah, to explain the middle class thing. Do you want to say that now?
Yeah, I'm out there in the community every day.
Speak up a little
I guess
louder for us.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
And the gentleman hit on a real thing, and especially since school closed, mental health and behavior health, and they're two separate things, are a very big problem in our community now. Um, and I have to go with Sister Reed. I have the ability where I can go and help them try to apply for their Medicaid. And the stumbling block is the income,
Okay.
that they make too much or they don't make quite a much, right? Quite enough, but they too rich, quote unquote,
Yeah.
to qualify for free Medicaid. So they put them on what's called spin down. And with the spin down, they have to spend so much money and then it's still not guaranteed.
Wow.
So they're lacking without. There's a lack of providers, mental health and behavior providers in our county in general. It's a big issue.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know that the councilwoman, that's been one of her major platforms from the beginning. So we've been, even before COVID, we were talking about mental health. So we will definitely, District 8, I know that's one of our high
We
platforms
need
there, but
help.
everybody needs it. I think now people actually recognize the need, but like you said, we don't have everything in place for everyone at this point. Thank you for sharing that. The spin down, that's good information.
Yes.
Okay. You all have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye, Charles. And I don't know who this phone number is right here. Who's it? Okay, there we go. Okay. Goodbye, Charles. Have a good one. I'm waiting for you to sign off so I can end and take the recording out.